All right, this is Nikki with Skimmer, and I am joined today by Fred Schweer, the Vice President of Sales at PoolRx. Hi, Fred.
Hi, Nikki. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for taking the time to chat with us today. This is our first sort of, I guess it's sort of a podcast,
Sure.
but we wanted to talk to industry folks and see what is out there. I've been reading a lot about PoolRx. I've seen a lot of comments about it. We have tons of pros that use Skimmer that will sell their customers PoolRx units, and there seems to be some debates online. Is it going to turn my pool green? How much do I sell it for? What's the value? Does it work? Is it snake oil? So I wanted to come to the source and kind of talk to you directly and see what you have to say.
Yeah, appreciate the opportunity, Nikki. In a nutshell, PoolRx has been in business since 1994. So we're celebrating 30 years in the industry this year. And what we are is an EPA registered algicide. We're the only one on the market that's using 3 EPA registered active ingredients. So our formulation is unique. We're using copper, zinc, and silver. So that's one part of it. We're also chelating the minerals at a molecular level. The chelation is really critical to our success, so the minerals don't fall out or stay in the pool. And then the third thing that sets us apart is the specially treated alloy cylinder inside the unit that helps to reionize the minerals to allow them to last for up to 6 months. So what is PoolRx? We're an EPA registered algicide. And what do we do? Well, obviously we eliminate algae, but what we're also doing is we're preventing even the microalgae in the water from growing. And by doing that, it's freeing up your chlorine to be more active and available. So you're able to use typically about 50% less chlorine. So you're going to be algae free using less chlorine. You don't have to worry about phosphates in the water anymore with us. Phosphates are food for algae. Phosphates do not consume chlorine. They feed the microalgae in the water. And so what we're doing is we're preventing the algae. And so it doesn't matter how high your phosphates get in the water. So again, it's going to be PoolRx, normal pool chemistry. You'll be algae free using less chlorine. You're not going to have to worry about phosphates anymore. You're going to be able to reduce how much chlorine is being put in the water. And it's going to be a lot easier for you. You're not going to spend as much time at the pool as well. So those are all the basic benefits and what PoolRx is and how it works. I can get into that more if you like.
I have another question because I've certainly seen some posts in online forums, mostly from homeowners. But one of the complaints was, oh, this thing turned my pool green or stained my plaster or
Yeah,
or messed things up. What
yeah.
can you say about that?
Yeah, so what happens is we require, like any other product on the market, we require normal pool chemistry ranges. And normal pool chemistry is not only, pH and alkalinity and free chlorine and total chlorine and calcium hardness, but it's also metals in the water. And so if you have existing metals in the water, you should be at zero point 0.2 parts per million or less of copper and also zero point 0.2 parts per million or less of iron. Those are the two biggest culprits. And what happens is people aren't aware of those normal pool chemistry ranges. And so they're elevated in those metals in their pool. And then what happens is we're putting PoolRx into the water and we are taking up some space in that water. But also our minerals are making chlorine super active and available. And so in some cases, if your copper level is elevated, let's say it's 0.6, or your iron level is elevated, say it's 0.4, and then you're adding PoolRx on top of that, well, our minerals dissolve into solution in the water and our minerals are chelated, so they're protected. But again, they're taking up more space, so you're closer to a saturation problem there, and they're also making the chlorine that you put in the water more active. And so that existing copper in the water or the existing iron, that's what ends up causing problems. And we get blamed for that. And that's really not a PoolRx issue. It's really your water chemistry wasn't in normal range prior to install. And so we get unfortunately blamed for that. It's totally avoidable if people would just, if you're in an area where you're on well water, you have old copper plumbing, you have an old copper heat exchanger that's leaching copper into the water, or even in parts of, we hear in parts of Florida, where, the screen, all those pools are screened in, and the rain's coming through those things. Sometimes you're getting leaching in from the screen. Sometimes you're getting metals leaching in from the stone that's being used around the pool. A lot of the popular gray stones that are being used are have a lot of copper in them. The brown stones are more iron. So there's a lot of ways metals get in your pool. And again, we unfortunately get blamed because they put a PoolRx in, and then the pool is amazing, and they shock the pool and they start seeing brown spots. That's from the iron, or they see black or purple, and that's from that existing copper in the pool. So what we say at PoolRx is, hey, test for metals first. If you have elevated metals above 0.2 parts per million, you want to get those out first. And we recommend a product called See You Later by a company called Periodic Products. It's fantastic. Unlike a sequestering agent that just holds metals in the water and helps to filter them out a little bit, those sequestering agents break down from chlorine, they break down from time. And so you have to continually add those into the water to try and hold that metal in solution. Whereas the See You Later is a little baggy. It's filled with these polymers, and you drop it in the skimmer. And as the water flows over that bag, it physically bonds to all of the trace metal in the water. Not only iron and copper, but it's going to pull out manganese and cobalt and nickel and anything else that's in that water. So you had a 20,000 gallon pool, and you had, like I said earlier, 0.6 of copper, and you had 0.4 of iron. Well, you could throw a See You Later bag in there, a 1 part per million bag. You drop it in the skimmer. It takes about 10 days to 2 weeks to fully pull everything out of the water, depending on how much flows over the bag. And within a couple of weeks, that water is now metal free. There's nothing in there. And so instead of having to worry about adding sequestering agents and having that water, the fill water, leaching more copper in or iron in, or wherever it's coming from, it's going to take you, another 6 months, a year for it to build up to a point that could be dangerous in your pool. So we recommend See You Later. If you have metal issues, you test first. If you have issues, use the See You Later, then retest, and then don't pull that bag out until it gets down. And then once that metal gets down to 0.2 parts or less, then you pull out the See You Later bag, you throw that away, and then you can install PoolRx. And again, once you do that, you're going to be smooth sailing for really the next year, because it's going to take even your fill water, if it's coming in from a well, it's going to take a lot of fill water to raise that metal content up high enough to be a problem. So you're usually good for about a year. With that said, the See You Later is the only product that can pull our minerals out of the water. So you definitely want to take you don't want to use them at the same time. You'd want to take the See You Later bag out, and then you can install the PoolRx. Any other sequestering agent type of product does not affect PoolRx. So if you're still going down that path, you can do that. But again, beware, because if you stop using the sequestering agent, or you're not putting enough in, or you have higher level issues, you could run into problems. So that's kind of the thing we get blamed for, that's totally avoidable if you can keep your water in normal pool chemistry ranges, which includes your metals. And so that's kind of one of those things that is near and dear to my heart, because I hate getting blamed for stuff that's not our fault. But for the most part, it's few and far between that people are running into those issues. And as long as they get the education, and again, Nikki, I appreciate you letting me be on here and talk about this, because the more people understand it, the less issues people will have. So we covered metals in the pool, and to make sure that you're in normal pool chemistry ranges prior to install. And that's including your metal content should be at 0.2 parts per million or less of both copper and iron. The other thing to note would be, if you're using calcium hypochlorite, Cal Hypo Shock, not all Cal Hypo is made the same. And in certain water chemistry scenarios, when our minerals are in the water and you just sprinkle in Cal Hypo without dissolving and diluting it, depending on the type and the make of it, it can, in some cases, settle to the bottom and instantly oxidize. And it turns black, little black dots where the Cal Hypo granular is. And it goes away after a couple of weeks, but it's a total eyesore, and it's totally avoidable if you simply dissolve and dilute your Cal Hypo before pouring in the pool. Not everyone's using Cal Hypo, and not all Cal Hypo, like I said, is really produced the same way. So it doesn't happen very often, but it's something that, again, that's avoidable if you can. Get your 5-gallon bucket of water, pour your 1 pound of shock into your bucket of water, stir it up for a minute, and then pour it in the deep end, or pour it near the return. it will avoid any possibility of that cal hypoxidation from happening. So those are the the other note to make sure that you can avoid any potential issues.
Got it. And you have a couple on your desk for those of you watching video that you were going to show us.
Yeah, I mean, this is just our PoolRx blue unit. This handles 7,500 to 20,000 gallons. It has 8 ounces of mineral. This is our black unit. It supports 20 to 30,000 gallons. It has 12 ounces of mineral. We also have the spa units. This one is 100 to 400 gallons, and this is 400 to 1,000 gallons. So with PoolRx, it's all the same product. It's just in different pre-sized amounts and different sizes of our specially treated alloy that helps to reionize the minerals in the water. The minerals do dissolve out of the unit immediately and completely. So you want to start with a clean filter. You want to drop this into your skimmer or your pump basket, and then you want to run your pump after you put this in. The longer you run the pump, the better. All the minerals will dissolve out of the unit typically in the first 4 to 6 hours. If you can run the pump longer, even better. It's going to help dissolve through the filter and into solution in the water. But yeah, and then after the minerals dissolve, you leave this unit in the skimmer or the pump basket. So as the water flows over the unit, it will help to reionize the minerals in the water. There is an ion exchange there that allow these minerals to last for up to 6 months. So the question is, well, how do I know that the minerals are in the water? The first thing is, because the chelation is so strong, you're not going to be able to test for our minerals accurately. That's why we say test for copper first and iron first. There's no iron in our product, but test for metals first, get those out, and then install PoolRx. After you install PoolRx, the chelation is so strong that it's not going to be able to be tested for accurately by your reagent test, either your liquid reagent, your spin lab test strips, whatever you're using. It's not going to come up accurately. And that's a good thing, because it shows you how strong that chelation is. And so after you put a PoolRx in, you may notice your copper levels at 0. And you're thinking, shoot, it should be higher than that because I just put a PoolRx in. Well, that's because the chelation, you can't see through it. Or it could be 0.6 or 0.8. And you might be like, oh my gosh, why is that so high? Should I take that out? No, you're fine. If you were in a good spot beforehand, and the test comes back elevated, don't worry, it's chelated, it's protected, and you have nothing to worry about. So the minerals are going to be used up. This is important, Nikki, as far as how people understand how this works and why it works. The minerals get used up from killing algae, right? So if you have a green pool and you want to clear it up, you can clear it up with a PoolRx. You pick the right size unit, you install it as directed. And the minerals will help you clear up that pool with a lower level of chlorine, and it'll clear it up faster than normal. However, the minerals do get used up from killing algae. And so the harder those minerals work, the shorter the lifespan of the mineral. The minerals get used up from killing algae. They're also lost from backwashing, splash out, dilution, filter cleanings. So the more those factors happen, the mineral concentration is reduced in the water and filtered out. And at a certain point, you're going to notice that your chlorine demand starts going back up. And the reason why the chlorine demand starts going back up is as the minerals get used up and filtered out, now that microalgae is able to start growing again. And so as that microalgae starts growing again, I mean, your pool's still clear, everything's still looking great, but it's taking you more and more chlorine. And that's as the microalgae grows, it consumes more chlorine. So that's the first noticeable sign that the minerals are used up. The next noticeable sign would be if your water's in normal pool chemistry ranges, everything should be good, but it's kind of a dull, kind of a cloudy look. And then the third noticeable sign would be any hint of algae. So a little mustard spot, a little green tinge to the water. You know at that point that the minerals have been used up, and it's time at that point to add a PoolRx booster. And so a lot of you guys out there that are familiar with PoolRx understand what this is. And all this really is the same mineral that was packed inside of that original unit. It's 8 ounces of mineral. It comes in a pressed granular tablet. All you do is open up the jar and dump it into the pump basket or skimmer. And these minerals will then dissolve into solution in the water, raising the mineral concentration. And you'll be algae free, the next day. Now, as these booster minerals flow over that original PoolRx unit, the booster minerals are recharged as they pass over this. So this is really a 1-year program. You start with this in the spring, and then if you need to late in the summer, you can add a booster if necessary. It's also going to depend on where you live, in the country. But that's the reason why we have the booster. Some folks just sell their customer another PoolRx unit when they need to. The reason why you don't have to do that and you can use the booster is the alloy cylinder is effective for about 12 months in the water to reionize minerals. And so you can leave this in the pump basket for the whole year. And if you need to, later in the season, you can add the booster. The following year, you need to start with a new unit because the alloy gets scaled and corroded and it loses its connectivity with the minerals in the water. So what some guys try to do is they try to use this the second year and then they add a booster that second year. And they call us up and they say, Fred, it didn't, it only lasted me a month or so. Like, what's the deal? Well, it's because that these minerals by themselves will last about 4 to 5 weeks. But with that, a new unit in the water, they'll last 4 to 6 months. So that's the reason that there's not really any cutting corners. We're selling you what you need, and when you need it. So that's kind of the basics behind the unit and the booster. And then obviously the other reason for a booster would be for larger body of water. And so sizing is important. You want to dose your pool based on the total gallons. And so you can kind of mix and match. We have a blue booster, that handles, again, 7,500 to 20,000. And we have a black booster as well. It's 12 ounces of mineral. I don't have it handy, but it's the same amount that's in the black unit. So with all of those different sizes, you can support any size body of water. And also, we are NSF 50 certified for commercial applications. And we do have even a larger alloy commercial unit that's just the alloy. And then we have a 10-pound bucket of mineral that will support up to 300,000 gallons worth of water. And within that 10-pound bucket, we do have, it's broken up in 4 2.5-pound bags that support 75,000 gallons each. So without getting too detailed, it's really about sizing and then installing it properly, which is starting with a clean filter and then normal pool chemistry. And if you can get those things right, it's super easy. And it saves you a ton of time at the pool and it saves a ton of money on chemical costs. So that's a lot. I threw a lot at you, but hopefully you followed that. And, again, I'd be happy to answer anything else you got.
So I'm a pool pro. Of course, I don't want to have to brush the pool any more than necessary. Of course, I want to save on chemical costs. How do I pitch this to my pool owner?
Yeah, good question. And that's really one of the number one questions that we get. So over the years, we've kind of developed a few different ways to help sell this to your customer. And we have what we call customizable offer letters. And it's really just a pre-written letter, Word document, simple to use. You can put your own logo in it. You can change the wording very easily. You can edit, cut, copy, paste, and save it. And you can change the price point however you want to sell it for. But really the scenario for us, the good, better, best is, the good news is you can buy PoolRx and just put it in the pool and you're going to save on the back end on your chemical costs and your time at the pool. So it's going to pay for itself in the first month or two. The better is buying it and then selling it to your customer at the same price you bought it at, just passing along that cost to your customer. And again, now you're saving even more because you're not paying for the cost of the product. And of course, the best would be to charge a profit. You are the pool service professional. You should be able to make a little bit of money on each product you sell to your customer. And there is room between distribution where you buy it from distribution. We don't sell direct. We're the manufacturer. We sell through distribution. And the best way to buy them is a 4-pack. So you buy them in a 4-pack and you buy them during our spring sale that's happening March and April every year and also August and September. And that gets your individual unit price down. And then there is room between that and say Amazon, where you're going to have a $20, $30 difference there that you're going to be able to make a few bucks on it. And that 20 or 30 bucks can go to the cost of your limited chlorine you're going to use or whatever else you're going to need. So, which really isn't much when you're using us. So as far as the wording goes, and I'll shoot these over to you, Nikki, we have just 3 very easy ones to kind of get people's mind around how to sell it and the benefits there. It's both for customers that are doing chemicals included, right, on their routes, and they're just doing a flat fee once a month, and they're not charging their customers for anything. We kind of have it written toward those benefits, and we also have it written, as it's mandatory. Like this is going to be going in your pool, and this is why, and you're going to be charged this much. So even for guys and for customers that are used to being charged for for pool chemicals, again, they're probably being, you're probably charging for a few different things. And again, you can charge your customers for whatever you want, but you're going to end up not having to use as many chemicals in the pool, not spending as much time at the pool, and you're not going to, get those repeat phone calls, and you're not going to make those repeat stops. So a lot of benefits on both sides of it for whatever type of pool service that you're running. But yes, those offer letters are great for folks that are using Skimmer, because you can actually just copy and paste that into the software platform, and it makes it very easy for you to introduce PoolRx to everybody on your route through Skimmer. So it's a very easy and efficient way to communicate, so which makes it better for you because you're making more money.
Awesome, Fred. I really, really thank you again for coming and joining and telling us about this. Again, it's available through distribution. I talked to a pro last week who picked up 150 units or whatever the 4-pack times. He picked up a bunch to deliver to his pool owners. And for him, it is mandatory because it is going to help his customers. It'll save him time, reduce chemical utilization throughout the summer. And it sounds like now's the time. It's April. Temperatures are getting warmer, and if people put this in the pool now, assuming there's not an active algae bloom, it should last them through the summer. Is that right?
That's correct. And worst case scenario, if you either undersized it or you didn't clean your filter, or before you put it in, or you had a huge green pool, worst case scenario, the booster is available to you if you ever need it. And it's simple as that. If you have 100 pools on route, 10% are probably going to need a booster at some point before that 4 to 6 month period, just based on the different factors that we're not in control of. But the booster is relatively inexpensive for what it does. It's about half the price of a unit, and again, once you get that booster in there, you'll be algae free again and using less chlorine within 24 hours. So pretty easy stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, where can people find out more if they want to do more research?
Yeah, so all over the place. PoolRx.com is kind of our is the website. It's a little bit more directed to educating end users, but we as the vice president of sales, our number one customer base really is the service professional, and we recommend every person with the pool to hire a service professional. So our bread and butter, our core customers are your customers. So yeah, distribution nationally, all of the distributors that you buy from are familiar with PoolRx. We're stocked nationally. And really, if you have any other questions, you can also email me as well. And we can put that email up if you like when you post this thing.
Yes, go ahead and read us your email for those who are listening.
Yeah, it's just fred@poolrx.com, FRED@POOLRX.com.
Easy breezy.
Yep.
Well, thanks again, Fred, and I hope this was useful.
Nikki.
If anyone has any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments or let us know. Say bye.
Thanks, Nikki. See you later.